The architecture of pricing, the 16 fields. The pricing procedure, Table T683S, is a linear logic engine. The system processes these fields from top to bottom, based on the step, executing the logic defined in the columns for each row. 1. Step, STOOF. Technical field, STUNR. Core function. The step field defines the sequence in which condition types are accessed and processed. The system executes pricing logic chronologically, starting from the lowest step number, example 10, to the highest, example 900. Expert analysis and best practices. Interval spacing. Never number your steps sequentially by 1, example 1, 2, 3. Always use intervals of 10, example 10, 20, 30. Why? In a production environment, business requirements change. If a client requires a new special seasonal surcharge that must be calculated after the gross price, but before standard discounts, you need the gap to insert step 15 without resequencing the entire procedure. Resequencing is risky as it can disrupt existing sales orders during repricing. Logical grouping. Use the step number to visually and logically group types of conditions. 010099 base prices, PR00, PB00, and reference costs, VPRS. 100 to 199 gross value calculations. 200 to 399 discounts and surcharges. 800 to 899 taxes. 900 plus final net value and statistical postings. The 0 step. You cannot use step 0. The system requires a positive integer. 2. Counter, Zahler. Technical field, ZAEHK. Core function. The counter is a substep. It allows the system to process multiple condition types under the same step number. Expert analysis and best practices. The best price logic. This is the most critical use case for the counter. If you have two different condition types for base price, example, PR00 for standard pricing and PB00 for gross price maintenance, and you want the system to check for both but only apply the one that exists, you can assign them both to Step 10, Counter 1, PR00. Step 10, Counter 2, PB00. Automatic determination. The system uses the counter to uniquely identify entries in the database table KONV, transaction data conditions. Even if the user sees them as a list, the primary key for a specific pricing line in the database is the combination of document condition number, KNUMV, item number, step, and counter. Visual organization. For complex procedures with 50+ lines, using counters can clutter the view. It is generally cleaner to use distinct steps unless the business logic explicitly links the conditions, like the best price scenario or mutually exclusive surcharges. 3. Condition type. Conditions art. Technical field. KSCHL. Core function. This field links the procedure line to the specific condition type configuration, defined in V or 06. It tells the system what rule to apply. Example. This line is for price. This line is for discount. Expert analysis and best practices. Interplay with access sequences. The condition type entered here brings with it the access sequence defined in V or 06. If this field is left blank, the line is considered a summation or subtotal line, used purely for arithmetic operations. Example. Gross total, total discount. Labeling lines. If you leave the condition type blank, you must provide a description, field 4. These blank lines are crucial for the from-to logic, discussed in field 5 or 6. Hard-coding versus determination. While most lines have a condition type, advanced consultants sometimes use a generic condition type, like a header discount, and use requirements, field 12, to control when it activates, rather than creating 20 different condition types for 20 different scenarios. 4. Description, Bezeichnung. Technical field, VTEXT, derived. Core function. This describes the line item. If a condition type is entered, this description is pulled automatically from the condition type configuration. If the condition type is blank, the consultant must manually type a description. Example. Net value after discount. Expert analysis and best practices. Multi-language environments. Be careful with manual descriptions in global rollouts. A manual description typed in English, total value, will appear in English even to a user logging in slightly in German or Spanish. unless translation keys are maintained. Using the automatic description from the condition type is safer as it respects the logon language. Clarity for end users, this description appears on the Conditions tab in the sales order. Avoid technical jargon. Instead of less K007, use customer discount. The arithmetic engine. 5. From Von. Technical field, STUNRJ, implicit reference. 6. 2. BIS. Technical field, STUNRK, implicit reference. Core function, combined analysis. These two fields define the basis for the calculation of the condition type. They tell the system, on what value should I calculate this percentage? Expert analysis and best practices. Standard behavior if from and to are blank. The system looks for the base value. For a surcharge or discount, this defaults to the condition value of the step immediately preceding it. Specific reference, the from field. If you enter step 10 in the from field of step 20 will calculate its percentage based strictly on the value of step 10. Scenario, a pallet surcharge, step 50, must be 10% of the base price, step 10, ignoring any other discounts that happened in between. You set step 50 from 10. Accumulation logic, the from to range. This is where errors often occur. If you enter from 10 and to 40, the system sums the values of all active conditions between step 10 and step 40 and applies the percentage to that sum. Scenario, a net value subtotal line often references the range from the beginning of the procedure to the current point to show the running total. Common pitfall, tax calculation. In the US, Vertex or Taxware, or simple VAT setups, taxes are usually calculated on the net value or discounted gross. If you accidentally set the from field to the gross price step, you will overcharge tax by ignoring discounts. Always ensure the from field points to the specific net value step that represents the taxable basis. The behavior control flags. 7. Manual. Technical field, MNU. Core function. This checkbox determines if the condition can be entered or changed manually by the end user in the sales order, VA01. Expert analysis and best practices. Blank, automatic. The system determines the condition via access sequence. It can be changed manually if the condition type settings, V or 06, allow it. X, manual only. The condition is never determined automatically. It only appears if the user manually adds it or if a specific API or BAPI injects it. Use case, goodwill credit. You don't want this automatically appearing, but a manager can add it manually. D, not possible to process manually. This is a strict lock. Even if the user tries to add it, the system blocks it. Use case, system calculated internal costs, VPRS, or automatic intercompany transfer prices that users should never tamper with. Priority hierarchy, note that the settings in V or 06, condition type, and V or 08, procedure, interact. If V or 06 says no manual changes, and V or 08 says manual, the V or 06 restriction generally wins regarding changing the value. But V or 08 dictates if it can be added. 8. Required, obligatorisch. Technical field, M and. Core function. This flag makes a condition mandatory. If the system cannot determine a value for this condition type, it throws an error or prevents the document from being saved. Expert analysis and best practices. The PR00 trap. It is standard practice to mark the base price, PR00, as mandatory. However, if you have a best price logic, PR00 or PB00, you cannot mark both as mandatory. You must leave the checkbox blank and use a requirement routine in column 12 to check if PR00 is missing and PB00 is missing, then error. Incompletion procedures. The required check behaves differently than the incompletion log. Pricing required stops you immediately during pricing execution or saving. Incompletion log allows you to save, usually, but blocks the delivery or billing document. Tip: use the required flag for absolute fundamentals, base price. Use incompletion logs for secondary mandatory data. Example: VAT registration number. 9. Statistical. Statistisch. Technical field. STATI. Core function. A statistical condition is calculated and displayed, but it does not alter the net value of the item and is not posted to the customer's account receivable balance. Expert analysis and best practices. Cost price. VPRS. This is the classic example. You need to see the cost to calculate margin, but the customer doesn't pay the cost. VPRS is always statistical. Information-only surcharges. Scenario: a company wants to see what the competitor price is for comparison on the screen, but charge their own price. You can add a condition type for competitor price, mark it statistical, and use it only for reporting or margin formulas. Step 13. Posting to G or L. Crucial distinction. Marking a condition as statistical does not prevent it from posting to the general ledger, GL. Accruals, rebates are statistical. They don't change the invoice value to the customer, but they post to a G or L accrual account. This is managed via the Accruals, Field 16, and Account Key, Field 15. Offsetting. If you want a statistical condition to hit the G or L, like a warranty cost included for internal tracking, you must ensure the account keys are set up to post to debit and credit that balance out, or post to a one-sided provision account depending on the requirement. The output and integration controllers. 10. Print. Druck. Technical field. DRUKZ. Core function. This controls whether the condition line item is printed on output documents. Example. Order confirmation. Invoice. Expert analysis and best practices. The X or S or A. Standard. X. Print at item level. The standard setting for prices and discounts. S. Print at totals level, usually for taxes or final net values. A. Price calculation, generally not printed, but used in calculation sheets. The hidden discount. Often, companies give a net price to a customer and do not want to show the breakdown of the 15% discount on the invoice. By leaving the print field blank or using a specific custom setting, you can hide the discount line from the print output, driver program dependent, while keeping it visible in SAP for the internal sales team. Smart Forms or Adobe Forms dependency. Modern SAP output management, Adobe Forms, relies on the interface data. While this flag updates the COMVDRUKZ field, the ABAP developer writing the print form must explicitly code the logic to respect this flag. A lazy developer might just print all, ignoring your configuration here. Always test your print flags with the actual output preview. 11. Subtotal. Zwischensum. Technical field. KZWIW. Core function. This is one of the most powerful fields for a functional consultant. It maps the value of the condition line or subtotal line into a specific field in the database table KOMP, pricing communication item. These fields are named KZWI1 through KZWI6 and KZWI9, plus others in newer releases. Expert analysis and best practices. Data transport. Pricing data is usually temporary, runtime. To save a value permanently in the sales order table, VBAP, for reporting or transfer to other modules, you must map it to a subtotal. Standard mappings. Do not deviate unless necessary. Subtotal 1, KZWI1. Carryover value for credit management. If you want a surcharge to be included in the credit check, it must be part of the aggregation hitting subtotal 1. Subtotal 2, KZWI2. Base value for rebate processing. The system uses this bucket to calculate how much rebate a customer earns. Subtotal 3, KZWI3. Used for cash discount. Sconto, basis. Subtotal 4, KZWI4. Often used for freight. Subtotal B, cost, WAVWR. Reporting, BW or BI. When BW consultants ask for net price or gross price, they extract data from VBAP. They rarely reconstruct pricing logic. Therefore, if you need a specific value, example, price before seasonal discount available for BI reporting, you must assign that line to an unused subtotal, example, subtotal 6, so it is stored in VBAPKZWI6. Effective value. Remember, subtotal fields hold the value, currency, not the percentage. The logic gates and formulas. SAPSDTOP50. Requirement, Bedingung. Technical field, KOBED or KOZAE. Core function. This is a link to a VOFM routine, ABAP code. It acts as a gatekeeper. If the requirement is met, return code equals 0. The system processes the step. If not, return code equals 4. The system ignores the step entirely. Expert analysis and best practices. Performance requirements are critical for system performance. Instead of letting the system search the database, access sequence, for a price that should NT apply, the requirement kills the search before it starts. Essential standard routines. Requirement 2, item with pricing. Used for PR00. It checks if the item category is relevant for pricing. Without this, the system tries to price text items or free goods, causing errors. Requirement 8, expected value. Used for EDI orders where the customer sends their expected price. Requirement 24, only in billing. Crucial for taxes or differentials that should only recalculate or appear on the invoice, not the sales order. Custom logic, the 900 range. Consultants often create custom requirements. Example: 901. Scenario: apply this surcharge only if the material group is electronics and the customer region is Europe. Expert tip: always ensure your ABA PER checks the KOMK, header, and KOMP item communication structures in the code. Do not perform select statements inside a requirement routine. If possible, it kills performance. 13. Alternative calculation type, Alt-CTY. Technical field, KOFRM. Core function. This links to a VOFM formula. It overrides the standard multiplication, price XQTY, with a custom mathematical formula to determine the condition value. Expert analysis and best practices. Profit margin logic. Standard SAP calculates simple percentage or fixed amount. If you need complex logic, example: price equals gold index rate weight plus machining cost. You use an alt-calc type formula. Standard routine 2, net value. This is placed on the net value line. It ensures the value is derived by summing up the active conditions above it, rather than recalculating based on a rate. Standard routine 11, profit margin. Used on the profit margin line to subtract cost from net value. Group conditions. Logic for graduated scales across multiple line items. Example: buy 10 items of mixed types, get 5% off all, is often handled here to aggregate quantities before applying the rate. Rounding. Alt-calc types are the primary place to handle complex rounding logic. Example: round total to nearest 0. 05 CHF. 14. Alternative condition base value, Alt-CBV. Technical field, KOFRA. Core function. This links to a VOFM formula. It overrides the basis upon which the percentage or rate is applied. Expert analysis and best practices. Weight versus value. Standard pricing applies percent on value. If you have a freight condition that charges $5 per 10 kg, you need an Alt-CBV to swap the basis from net value to gross weight. Routine 12, gross weight, and 13, net weight. Commonly used for freight conditions. Routine 22, whole units. Used if a discount applies only to full pallets, ignoring the loose items on top. Absolute discounts. If you have a fixed discount of $100 distributed across 3 line items, the Alt-CBV formula handles the pro-ration logic, distributing the $100 based on the value of the items. Header conditions. When you enter a header condition manually, the Alt-CBV logic, standard routine 16, is what splits that header value down to the line items. The accounting bridge, 15. Account key, Kontischlüssel. Technical field, KVSL1. Core function. The account key acts as a tag that follows the value of the condition to the VKOA, revenue account determination, table. It tells the system, this value belongs to sales revenue, or this value belongs to freight income. Expert analysis and best practices. ERL, revenue. The standard key for base price and surcharges. Maps to the sales revenue G or L account. ERS, sales deductions. The standard key for discounts. Maps to a sales deduction G or L account. Contra revenue. MWS, tax. The standard key for output tax. Integration with FI. The account key is the only link between SD pricing and FI GRL selection. If this is blank, the value will not post to a separate G or L line unless it's merged into the net value. Troubleshooting. If an invoice fails to release to accounting with error G or L, account not found, the first place to check is the account key in the pricing procedure. Then check if that key is assigned in VKOA. 16. Accruals. Ruckstellingen. Technical field, KVSL2. Core function. This is a secondary account key used specifically for accruals or provisions. It is used when a condition needs to post to two accounts, one for the expense or deduction, and one for the balance sheet liability, accrual. Expert analysis and best practices. Rebate processing. This is the primary use case. Account key, field 15, points to the sales deduction, expense, account. Accruals, field 16, points to the rebate accrual, liability account. Result, when the invoice is posted, the customer pays the full price, but the system internally posts debit sales deduction or credit rebate accruals. Freight accruals. If you charge the customer for freight but pay a vendor later, you can use this to accrue the freight cost at the time of sale. Condition type setting. For the accruals field to work, the condition type, in V or 06, must usually be set to accruals checked. Statistical interaction. Often, conditions using accruals are marked as statistical, field 9. This ensures they don't change the customer's invoice total, but they do generate the back-end FI posting for the accrual. Comprehensive troubleshooting and expert scenarios. To be a true expert, you must understand how these fields break. Scenario 1. The inactive condition. Problem. A condition appears in the sales order analysis, but is yellow, inactive, with code condition ignored. Requirement. Diagnosis. Check field 12. Requirement. The VOFM routine assigned there, returned a 4. Fix. Debug the routine or check the business data. Example. Is the item category correct? Is the document currency correct? Scenario 2. Tax calculation is wrong on discounted items. Problem. A $100 item has a 10% discount, $90 net. Tax is 10%. The system calculates $10 tax on $100 instead of $9 tax on $90. Diagnosis. Check field 5 from for the tax condition. It is likely pointing to the gross price step, or subtotal 1, gross, instead of the net value step. Fix. Adjust the from field to point to the step where the discounted value is held. Scenario 3. Header discount does not distribute correctly. Problem. User enters a $100 group header discount. The system gives $100 discount to every line item. Diagnosis. Check field 14, Alt CBV, or the condition type configuration. The group condition flag in V or 06 is missing, or the Alt CBV formula for distribution is missing in the procedure. Scenario 4. G or L account missing in intercompany billing. Problem. Intercompany billing, IV, fails. Diagnosis. The pricing procedure for I or C billing, usually ICAA 01, uses internal cost conditions, PI 01. Check field 15, account key. It likely points to a key that hasn't been mapped in VKOA for the intercompany sales area. Scenario 5. Statistical value not appearing in BW. Problem. The business wants to report on potential revenue, statistical, but it's not in the BI report. Diagnosis. The statistical flag, field 9, is checked, but the subtotal, field 11, is blank. Fix. Assign the statistical line to an unused subtotal, example, KZWI7. This forces the value into the VBAP table, making it accessible for extraction. Final hands-on checklist for the consultant. When configuring a new pricing procedure, strictly follow this validation protocol. 1. Gap check. Are my steps in intervals of 10? 2. Overlap check. Do my from-to ranges include only what they should? Watch out for including statistical lines in a summation range. 3. Manual lock. Have I locked down automatic conditions, manual equals blank or D, to prevent user tampering? Reporting tag. Have I assigned subtotals, 1 to 6, to the critical values the business needs for reports? 5. Account key verify. Does every non-statistical line have an account key? Does every account key have an entry in VKOA? 6. Print test. Have I printed an invoice to verify the print flags, hide or show the right lines? Mastery of these 16 fields is not about memorizing their definitions. It is about understanding their orchestration. Every field influences the others. The requirement 12 blocks the step 1. The subtotal 11 feeds the base 14 of a lower step. The account key 15 relies on the statistical flag 9 to know if it's a real revenue or a shadow posting. Understand these connections, and you control the heartbeat of SAPSD.